AoC Meeting number 16. Let's get right into it. The first topic was from Medley about an artist wall at Hi-Rez. You know, basically a fan art gallery. This topic falls under marketing, and the marketing team said that they think it's a great idea to give artists a place to put their art on display. It fits in with the spirit of Hi-Rez. They would need to be able to build their own section of wall for this to become a thing though, and they need to talk with DreamHack to see if it's possible to have any type of gallery this year. Next was my topic. This is on ranked games and bots. You guys hate playing with bots. Understandable. I brought up a few community ideas I've seen tossed around about how to handle ranked games with bots in them. One big one was if a player fails to load in, give them another minute to come back before the game starts, and if they don't come back, the game will cancel itself. No one loses anything except the person who didn't load in. They'd be hit with a TP loss. The next one was if somebody DCs in the middle of the game. You can't really cancel the game at that point, but there was the idea of giving the team with the bot the option to surrender. It'd be a majority vote. If 4 players are left on the team, 3 would have to vote to surrender for it to happen. This would still count as a loss and take your TP. It would mainly serve as a way to get you all out of the game with the bot faster, and get you into a new game so you don't have to go through that painful game. If you all want to, of course. Now, the problems that I personally saw with these were that they could be abusable and still affect players negatively. As far as the devs go, they said there are both good and bad to both of those. Again, because it's abusable. If you're on a smurf or something, or you don't really care about your own TP, and your duo partner does, and you see 2 pro players on the enemy team, you could not load in and allow your friend to not fight those pro players. Doesn't even have to be pro players. Could be any good players that other players don't want to fight against. Really good players would often find themselves in queue more often since their games would be cancelled more often, and they are the ones who are normally in the longest queues already. As for the surrender button, this used to be something in the game a long time ago, but it was removed because the games in Paladins didn't last long enough to justify having it. It also creates a problem for players because you will find players who don't want to surrender. This could lead to players getting frustrated at those players, and then toxicity comes out. So that's their response on those. I'm gonna be honest, I knew most of that already before I even brought up the topic. I kinda knew the topic wasn't going to go anywhere. In the past, I have mainly brought up topics that I know have a high possibility of getting accepted. That's why I've gotten so much community requested balance into the game. I always avoided topics I knew they wouldn't go for, because going for those topics kind of wastes the opportunity the meetings gives us, and these meetings are only every 2 weeks and we get 10 to 15 minutes per topic. I personally much rather get things done to the game that'll make people happy, rather than go for things I know won't get added into the game, because getting told no tends to make the community very unhappy. Makes sense. So if you've ever felt like I've ignored big community topics before, that would be the reason why. I've rarely ever been surprised about any of EM's responses, so I would like to say that I normally always have a good idea of how possible something is or not, at least at this point. Early on in my AoC term, I definitely didn't. Also, that's not me saying I always like their responses or anything. For the most part, I always understand them and where they're coming from with them, but I don't always like them, and I don't expect you guys to either, of course. I took this week's and last week's topics knowing I wouldn't be able to please you guys with them, but now you know why I pick topics the way I do at least. So I do want to continue to focus on things I know can happen for the rest of my term. Also, don't take this as me saying, "Your topics wasted the opportunity, it's all your fault, those topics are no good." No, all I'm saying is I want to spend the time getting you guys things you want so you can be happy, instead of bringing you guys disappointing answers when the devs are unable to do something. In case any of you are planning to run for the AoC in the future, I would say that's a very helpful thing to have. The ability to know what topics are most likely to get put into the game, and that does require some game development knowledge. I did get a lot of mine from the first 2 or 3 months of being on the AoC, and I'm still getting more and more as the term goes on. So the devs will teach you, don't worry. Something did come out of this topic though, nothing too crazy but helpful nevertheless. They do want to see if they can make it so bots can no longer buy items. So when you load back into the game, you still have all your credits and no bad items. Another thing they've been talking about looking into is timed queues. The queue would only put you into a game at a certain time, so you always know how long it'll take to get into a game. So if you want to do something else while in queue, you'll know exactly how long you'll have before your game is ready. Next topic is from Real Blue about a few different things. Let's start with Wrecker and Bulldozer. He's apparently been getting a lot of complaints about Wrecker being too powerful and how it needs a nerf. As a lot of you know, they are planning to nerf and normalize Wrecker in Season 3. Bulldozer apparently too. They said they're experimenting with the numbers for these nerfs. They want frontlines to have effective barriers throughout the game. Right now, once you get Wrecker 2, tanks no longer have barriers. They get melted very easily. Of course, like they've said before, tanks would be nerfed at the same time, so the Wrecker nerfs wouldn't make them more powerful, it would instead be a power shift. A commendation system also came up again. They're still looking at doing something like that at some point. They're thinking it over. Like before though, it's still a ways out if they do decide to go ahead and do it. Blue also quickly brought up how some Andro players want his reversal to be in first person instead of third person. Adonis said he needs a reason on why players want it before he considers doing something like that. Me personally, the only reason that I've heard is that when you aim down with reversal, you can't see what you're aiming at because your model is in the way. I don't really think that would be a reason to make it first person though. It's been third person for so long and so many people are used to it. I recommended making his character model transparent to you the player if you aim down with reversal though, so you would be able to see. Another thing Blue brought up was something about resonance and making it so it'll still do the AoE damage if it dies while running after you. It only explodes if it dies while stationary from what I've seen, or when it decides to blow itself up. But that's part of the base kit of course. They're going to look into seeing if they can do that. Colombian's topic isn't something we can talk about. I only brought this up to you guys so you know Colombian was at the meeting and he did bring forward a topic. Don't want you guys to feel like anyone is slacking or something. Same goes for Mortis, his topic cannot be talked about. Then there's Huga's topic about a lore-focused event and battle pass, and if that could be put into the game. The devs said they liked the idea. However, when it comes to event themes, they have to look at themes that appeal to the biggest part of the player base. The game's lore isn't one of those themes. They're not saying no one cares about it because people do, but more people would care about something like pirates, for example. I imagine the typical player probably has never even read a character lore bio before. They think they can do something smaller though. You guys have seen the Time Warp event? You get free stuff for logging in and playing every day the event runs for. They feel like they could easily put lore-focused stuff in an event like that as they start to cultivate the lore more. They're still looking into better ways to deliver the lore to the public right now. Huga also brought up the Battle Pass challenges and how you guys still aren't pleased with some of them. The dev said the more difficult and extensive ones are meant for players who are really invested into the game and play it a lot. For very, very active users. By design, they don't want everyone to complete them. They want their most active users to complete them and get a very limited title out of doing so. So this is from me personally, but to be fair, I'm a very active user. I didn't really love having to heal 1 million health with Grok, cause a lot of people consider that throwing, and I don't want people to feel like I'm throwing their games. Come to think of it, I didn't even complete that one cause it was a pain. We do always tell them about specific ones that you guys don't like so they don't do them again. Like the hit 3 people with Atlas's Rewind 20 times or something. I get that they want the title to be very limited to their active users, but some of the challenges definitely don't need to exist. And that's it. GC2MT couldn't make it this time around, so that's all the topics. As always, feel free to leave your feedback in the comments below. And that's pretty much it guys, I want to thank you all for watching, I very much appreciate it, and I'm gonna see you guys later. Bye.